I am John Michaels, a 32-year-old clerk in an aging law office in Shelby City. My workday revolves around files, stamps, contracts, and cups of black-iced coffee, sometimes so dry that I think I might fall asleep in the middle of the day. It wasn't until I was assigned to clean out the basement archives, which are filled with papers from World War II to the early 21st century, that I realized there are secrets that not all books want to be exposed. One autumn afternoon, I went down to the basement with a portable projector and a flashlight. The space was dark, and a musty smell wafted from the peeling metal cabinets. I flipped through the index, civil case files, wills, trademarks. Everything was neat, except for a last drawer marked with rotten brown tape. No index number, no label. Curious, I opened the drawer. Inside was a small wooden box, intricately carved but covered in dust, as if it had been hidden away for a century. I picked it up, feeling the sturdy wood frame, warm with cracks showing. My hands trembled as I removed the clasp holding the lid shut. A metallic creak echoed in the silence. Unscrewing the lid, I found a small, silver, heart-shaped locket, the letters G and F engraved on the back, and the numbers 1897 beneath. A few crystals sparkled around the silver rim, which had faded with age. There was no inscription explaining its provenance. I had a vague idea that it had been a keepsake from some woman in the last century, perhaps related to the Fultons, a once prominent family in Shelby that had died out in a property scandal in the 1920s. I put the locket in my pocket, wondering, why is an old piece of jewelry in a legal file? My heart rate quickened a little, implying that this was going to be more than just a simple cleanup. The locket became a temporary decoration on my desk at the boarding house. At first, I just stared at it, wondering about the history hidden behind each engraving. But my curiosity gradually turned into a little game. I held it between two fingers, closed my eyes, and whispered a simple wish. If only I had enough money for rent this month. The next morning, an email notification from the bank popped up. Rent payment successful. I thought there was a system glitch, so I called the landlord to confirm, and they said, "I've transferred the money, thank you for paying on time." My heart was pounding. Just a whisper, and the wish came true? I tried again. If only I could finish the report yesterday. And that afternoon, I received the notification, "Report approved," even though I had not yet finished typing the final draft. The excitement made me both happy and worried. Something beyond normal logic. The power of the medallion made me both excited and worried. Was it really an angel or a curse? I searched the internet for information about GF 1897, but found only vague references to the Fulton family and the inheritance disputes of a century ago. All traces seemed to have been erased. That afternoon I returned to the archives, wanting to check out more records on the Fulton family. The archives were vast, the dim fluorescent light illuminating the dust drifting in the air. I stopped in front of the local history file cabinet, opened it, and found only a yellowed page. The Fulton family, medical equipment business 18901-923. The unhappy marriage of Grace Fulton ended in a tragic accident in August 1923. I shuddered when I read the words Grace Fulton. Was the medallion hers? And what power lay dormant within the metal? Turning off the lights in the archives, I walked up the stairs and whispered, "I have to be careful." But I had already decided in my heart I would continue to struggle with my own wish, to discover the hidden secret, regardless of the consequences. The game has just begun, and I sense something precarious. Sometimes seemingly small wishes can lead to endless abysses. The power of the locket was undeniable. The first two wishes came true without any effort. But this time, when my mother was hospitalized for a recurrence of her heart attack, I quietly opened the locket, placed it on my chest, and whispered under my breath, "Mom, I wish you were healthy again." My hands were shaking. My heart was heavy with responsibility. I looked up at the ceiling, but only saw the flickering light. The next morning, the phone rang. The hospital said that my mother was out of danger and was about to be discharged. Overwhelmed with joy, I ran to the hospital bed, intending to hug her. But I realized that her eyes were still closed. She was breathing heavily, and she was mumbling a series of unclear numbers. 4, 7, 2, Grace, find me. I jumped. Grace? That was the name engraved on the back of the locket. She stammered and asked me, "Why did you call that strange woman's name?" Then she fainted. During the days my mother was resting at home, I began to realize the heart monitor in her room occasionally makes a rhythm like 60-80 beats per minute, then suddenly drops to 30-40, and then rises to 100. The room light still flickers when the switch is off, turns back on, and it's normal, whispering in my ear. Every night, I hear my mother calling my name, "John, John," in a hoarse voice, as if through a layer of fabric. When I run into the room, I only see her eyes closed, fast asleep, from wishing for rent, then for a report, and now for my mother's life. I feel like I'm not alone. Like there's a third person holding my wish. Every time I touch the locket, my heart stops for a second, and I hear a woman's breath. Right next to my neck, "I repay you with a debt." I stood, frozen, drenched in sweat. A figure passed by the medicine cabinet, leaving behind a faded rose scent. Not the medical smell of a hospital, but an ancient smell. During sleepless nights, I would wake up to the sound of my mother calling my name, "John, John," in my sleep, and the faint scent of roses every time I touched the silver locket. Knowing that I had to settle things once and for all, I searched through the company's legal archives, looking for any records related to the G.F. 1897 engraving on the back of the locket. I finally found a blurry photocopy of the Fulton family foreclosure documents from 1923. The indictment stated, Grace Fulton, the only daughter of the prominent family, sued her parents for a division of their inheritance. After losing the lawsuit, she fled home with a silver locket, a gift her mother had given her. Before she fled, the document was signed as Grace F. 26 and eventually turned up in a coastal town 30 miles east of Shelby. No one knew where she went after that. My heart sank. All traces stopped at 1923, and she had disappeared. The next morning, I drove for over an hour to the town of Coldwater Harbor. The mountain road wound through tall pine forests and the wind whistled. The locals rarely talked to strangers. They told me to ask at the little church at the end of the village, where the priest might know a little about local history. Father Matthews, a man with gray hair and sad eyes, sighed when he heard the name Grace Fulton. He said that Grace had come to the convent to ask for a place to stay, to help with the cleaning, and would occasionally appear in the rose garden wearing a locket. She loved the flowers, the priest said, but she was always sad, as if she were waiting for something. He showed me the site of the old garden. Now only moss-covered stone walls and a few sparse beds of wild roses remained. That evening, I returned to Coldwater Harbor, clutching my locker and small tape recorder. Standing on the hotel balcony overlooking the mossy garden, the sea breeze chilling, I took a deep breath and walked slowly down. The silver moonlight illuminated the way. The rose bushes towering above my head seemed hazy in the darkness. In the middle of the garden, I placed Silver Locket on a mossy rock and whispered, Grace Fulton, I am here to redeem my debt. Please forgive me. There was no sound. Then, from the rose bush, I heard a faint rustling, like hundreds of broken petals touching each other. I turned on my flashlight and scanned the area, seeing nothing but sharp thorns rising in the darkness. Suddenly, the wind blew hard, the rock shook, and from the pink crevice a pale white hand reached out, wearing exactly the silver locket. I stepped back, my heart about to jump out of my chest. A whisper echoed in the wind. "You owe me one last wish." I knelt down, trembling, the flashlight beam focused on Grace's shadowed face. Her eyes were as clear as an autumn lake, but full of sadness. "What is that wish, Grace?" She raised her head, her voice light but resonating straight to her heart. "It is the wish to be truly loved, even just once." In a flash I understood it was my ambition to help my mother get well, or get the job done, that had drawn me into the vortex of superficial power. And she, Grace Fulton, only longed for a sincere love. Before she disappeared, I knelt down, took her hand and whispered, "Grace, I will keep your memory. I will not let you be lonely anymore." The locket flashed its last silver light, then slowly shattered, each piece of sparkling metal falling into my hand. The sea breeze calmed, the murmuring stopped. I stood up, looking back at the rose garden. Only the flowers were still, as if bathed in the dawn. The next morning I returned to Shelby with a light heart, no longer hearing my mother calling my name or whispering in my ear. The silver locket was broken, leaving only the last piece, which I kept deep in a glass case, out of sight. Though all traces seem closed, I know Grace Fulton has gone to a faraway place. And I, John Michaels, carry with me the lesson. Every wish carries an invisible debt. Only sincere love can repay the debt of life.